The city that never sleeps is silent. There are no crowds in Times Square, and no tourists in Central Park. Towers of glass and steel still stretch toward the heavens. But from the skies themselves, relics of mankind shatter the quiet.
On the busiest day, there can be around 9,000 individual helicopter trips crisscrossing New York City.
Empty helicopters rain down upon the city, and debris tears through shops, theaters, and apartment buildings.
It isn't just the impact. These choppers are carrying hundreds of gallons of fuel. Each one of these things is like a hand grenade the size of a rhino. The destruction would be intense.
These places were once filled with life. Now there are no crowds to scream, no eyes to see the wreckage. But the shattered glass and broken concrete aren't just open wounds. They're open invitations for new inhabitants to creep out from the shadows of Central Park.
It's actually teeming with hundreds of species of wild animals. Hawks, owls, ducks, squirrels, raccoons, bats, and even coyotes.
From within the depths of the park, animals begin to emerge. But in one corner of the park lies something stranger. It's home to a whole menagerie of predators, pests, and exotic creatures.
At the southeast corner of the park sits the Central Park Zoo. It was established in 1859 kind of by accident with a stray bear tied to a tree. Before long, people started donating other animals to the park, and eventually the zoo became official. It housed over 130 species, from tropical birds to snow leopards.
Most would not be able to even escape their enclosures, and they would die of starvation or dehydration in a matter of a few weeks. But not all habitats have a roof.
Some animals live in open-air enclosures, like snow monkeys or Japanese macaques. But it's just a short swim and a climb, and they're out of there, which is exactly where hunger would take them.
These monkeys are highly intelligent. They would very quickly become the smartest species in all of New York City.
A host of strange creatures roam beneath the branches of Central Park. Some hunt, some hide. But the most intelligent among them recognize that there's a world outside the park. Unguarded, torn open, and full of opportunity. Manhattan is surrendering to nature, sidewalks split by roots, vines crawling skyward, and parks spilling into the streets. But above the encroaching forest, a shadow still looms. Central Park Tower. The lower floors of the tower are full of life. The snow monkeys aren't just hanging on. They're thriving. In fact, many new generations have now been born.
If they're having babies, it means they're doing well. They get enough food, low stress, healthy. It's a New York City survival story.
Snow monkeys are the Swiss Army knives of the animal kingdom. Smart, tough, and adaptable. They're cool with humid summers and just as happy in blizzards and sub-zero temperatures. They'll eat just about anything. Bugs, plants, bark, even dirt if they have to.
For decades, Central Park Tower has stood tall, a sentinel and a sanctuary. But year after year, wounds have worsened, scars have grown, until its flesh is torn open, bones exposed, and the winds continue to howl.
The Central Park Tower is now leaning hard. It was designed to cut through the wind, but not like this. The wind isn't just blowing around the tower anymore. It's barreling down into it, effectively turning it into a giant sail.
Gusts slam into the structure. And inside the luxury apartments, everything is chaos. Walls crack. Italian marble counters split. Glass showers explode like grenades.
Then, the worst case scenario. The tuned mass damper fails. Dampers like this have a 20-year lifespan before major mechanical components need to be replaced. It would most likely just seize up and become a 1,000-ton dead weight.
The tallest residential tower ever built is now straining to stay upright, weighed down by exhaustion like a prize fighter too dazed to defend himself.
So that massive weight that used to keep the building balanced is now doing the exact opposite. It's leaning with the wind, dragging the top of the tower even further off center.
Somewhere around the 80th floor, the whole structure is finally going to give out. The pressure cascades downward, each floor pancaking onto the one below it in a chain reaction of absolute destruction.
In seconds, the entire top half of the tower breaks off and crashes down, smashing into nearby skyscrapers. Along Billionaires' Row, buildings topple like dominoes.
There's a reason we don't let old buildings just rot. We bring them down carefully and strategically, because if a building falls on its own, it doesn't just fall, it takes the neighborhood with it.
"100 years after People, New York City doesn't look like a city anymore.
What used to be sidewalks and streets is now a wild, tangled green. Trees are bursting through the asphalt of Times Square. No more poodles in designer jackets. We have coyotes trotting down Broadway.
Relics of humankind can be seen everywhere, but they no longer serve any human purpose.
Balconies and fire escapes becoming makeshift planters. And up top, rooftops turn into forests, where full-grown trees are swaying, where open-air bars used to buzz.
The bones of the city are still standing. Stone, steel, brick, but now every wall, every roof, every window ledge has something growing on it. It's like a green roof on steroids.
It's surreal. A vertical wilderness draped over a forgotten city.
On Liberty Island, the statue that once stood for human freedom and equality, that once welcomed the world's huddled masses, has been shown no quarter. Her base is strangled by Virginia creeper vines, roots buried deep in cracked stone. Her copper skin is torn, her steel bones ravaged by rust and decay, and each passing day could be her last.
Even when the statue was at her best, a 50-mile-per-hour wind could make her sway as much as 3 inches in the body, but 6 inches in her arm. That arm and torch, 42 feet of unsupported metal, is the statue's biggest structural weakness.
With the steel connections between the pedestal and statue now weaker than ever, and the lower structural beams exposed to the elements, the entire statue begins to tilt.
Corrosion has eaten away at her once sturdy 440,000-pound steel frame. In her prime, she could withstand gale force winds, but now an average breeze, much less the weight of too many pigeons on her crown, could push her all the way over.
With a final agonizing groan, metal bends past its breaking point. The statue wrenches free of her pedestal and collapses in a heap. After 239 years, Lady Liberty watches over New York no more.
It's a more realistic ending than the one envisioned in Planet of the Apes, but it's equally jarring.